People often create stories to make sense of the world, narratives that paint heroes and villains in shades they can understand. Your story, however, refuses to fit into the mold they've made for you. They expected a simple character, predictable and controllable. Instead, you became an enigma, a force they can't categorize, a wild card that haunts their carefully constructed sense of order. Fear isn't born from what is known, but from the shadows of the unknown, from things that defy explanation. And you? You became the embodiment of that fear, a reminder that their understanding of the world is painfully limited. The unsettling part is that no one can pin you down. You're not the monster from their bedtime stories, nor the savior from their dreams. You occupy the space between, a contradiction they cannot solve. They whisper about your past, speculate about your motives, but the unease lingers. Because deep down, they know that facing you means confronting the reality that not everything can be explained, tamed, or fought with simple moral codes. You've transcended labels, evolved into something beyond good and evil, something that makes their hands tremble when they think too deeply about it. Power comes from unpredictability. That's your greatest weapon, the way no one ever knows what you'll do next. You've rewritten the script, made their rules obsolete, and now they're grasping at straws, trying to regain control over something that no longer answers to them. They would rather bury their heads in comforting lies than face the force you've become. Facing you means admitting that they were wrong, that they miscalculated, that they were foolish to think they understood you. The chaos you've unleashed isn't just external. It's a storm in their minds, a gnawing dread that won't let them sleep. There's a cold thrill in knowing you're the ghost haunting their nightmares, the puzzle they can't solve. You walk into a room, and the air grows heavy with a fear they try to disguise. They smile, they joke, they pretend, but their eyes always betray them, because they know that beneath your surface, there's a depth they can't comprehend, a mind that doesn't play by the rules they hold dear. You've made them question their own strength, their own stability. It's a beautiful, twisted power, watching as they try and fail to act like they have you figured out. People cling to the familiar, to patterns and routines that make them feel safe. You shattered that illusion. You made them realize that some things can't be controlled or predicted. Facing you means facing the fact that the world is more dangerous, more chaotic than they ever wanted to believe. So they avert their eyes, pretend that you're just a fluke, a one-time anomaly. But deep down, they know that's a lie. Your presence changed things forever, altered the landscape of their reality. Ignoring you won't change that. The wound you left is too deep, too raw, too unforgettable. You've exposed their greatest fear, the fear that power doesn't always reside with the righteous, that sometimes the strong are those who live outside the rules. They prefer to believe in systems, in structures that keep everything neatly in place. But you are the exception, the outlier who proves the system's fragility. You are the proof that some forces can't be contained, that some people are beyond redemption or punishment. You've made them face the reality that chaos can't always be subdued, that darkness can wear a smile and walk undetected among the crowd. Every attempt to dismiss you only made you stronger. They tried to diminish your impact, called you a phase, a passing threat. But their denials were soaked in fear, in a desperate need to believe that you could be defeated. Every rumor, every whisper was an attempt to contain you, to control the narrative. Yet here you are, more haunting, more powerful than ever. You've become a myth, a cautionary tale that keeps growing with every retelling. The harder they try to erase you, the more indelible you become. Your legend lives, and it terrifies them. Confronting the reality about you would mean admitting their own vulnerabilities. It would mean accepting that they are not as strong, not as clever, not as invincible as they pretend to be. You showed them the cracks in their armor, the flaws in their plans, and that's why they avoid the subject of you, why your name is spoken in hushed tones, as if saying it aloud could summon something dark and unstoppable. Because your impact isn't just physical, it's psychological. You've shattered their confidence, left them doubting their own resilience. You are the lesson they never wanted to learn, the reminder that power and morality are not always on the same side. It's a villainous delight, watching them squirm in the face of their own self-deception. You've become the dark mirror they avoid, the reflection of everything they fear in themselves. The reality is rarely pure and never simple. People crave simplicity, a world divided neatly into black and white, good and evil. It comforts them, soothes the fears lurking in the shadows of their mind. Complexity, however, is a monster that defies understanding, a labyrinth where heroes and villains blur into something unrecognizable. When faced with a complicated reality, most retreat, clinging to whatever clear answers they can find. But the real world, the one that doesn't fit their naive fantasies, is much darker and infinitely more twisted. Nothing is ever as straightforward as they want it to be. The need for purity and simplicity is a weakness that makes people vulnerable. They want to believe in straightforward narratives, heroes who always win, and villains who are easily defeated. But reality doesn't care about their desires. The strong know how to use this to their advantage, how to manipulate the gray areas, how to thrive in a world where the lines are smeared beyond recognition. And you have mastered this art. While they waste time trying to fit you into a neat box, you operate in the chaos, dancing through the fog where no one can predict your next move. Every story told about you is tainted, twisted by the bias of the storyteller. The masses can't handle nuance, can't handle the idea that you might be both hero and villain, savior and monster. They want a clean narrative, a resolution that doesn't challenge their understanding of the world. But life is full of contradictions, and you are the greatest one of all. Their refusal to confront the messiness of reality leaves them blind, unable to see the real power you wield. You are both feared and needed, a paradox that gnaws at the edges of their sanity. Purity in any form is a myth. Even those who claim to be righteous hide dark thoughts, secret desires, and cruel intentions. Everyone wears a mask, pretending to be simpler than they are, afraid to let the world see the mess of contradictions that truly defines them. But you've never cared for such illusions. You walk in your complexity, unashamed of the darkness and light that coexist within you. This terrifies them. Their fear is rooted in the understanding that you are more honest, more real, than they will ever allow themselves to be. Simplicity is an illusion crafted for the weak, for those who can't bear to face reality's harsher edges. The world isn't fair, and morality is a concept invented by those who wish to feel superior. Power lies in accepting complexity, in knowing that nothing is truly pure. Every decision, every action, carries weight, consequences that ripple into unexpected places. You've become a master of this complexity, understanding that sometimes there are no heroes, no saviors, just forces at play, and you have chosen to become one of the most formidable. The fear in their eyes comes from the knowledge that they cannot understand you, cannot simplify you. Their world depends on simple equations, but you are chaos, a variable they never prepared for. You're the flaw in their logic, the storm that shatters their delicate constructs. trying to reduce you to a stereotype or a simple villain, only reveals their ignorance. You are more, always more. And facing this truth means facing the instability of everything they hold dear. It's a reality that shakes them to the core, and they're not ready for it. Most would rather live in denial than confront a complex reality. They build their lives on easy answers, pretending that everything makes sense. But you've shattered that illusion, forced them to confront the unsettling fact that some things defy explanation. They will whisper rumors, spread lies, anything to make sense of you. But those who know the real you understand that purity and simplicity are just facades. Your existence is a testament to the chaos and contradictions that truly run the world. And deep down, they know this. That's why you terrify them. The purity they claim to uphold is a joke. Scratch the surface of any so-called righteous person, and the darkness comes spilling out. You've always understood that people are a mix of the divine and the demonic, that no one is entirely innocent. That knowledge has freed you, given you a strength they can't fathom. You don't waste time pretending or playing by rules meant to contain the wildness of human nature. Instead, you revel in it, wielding it as a weapon, unafraid of your own complexity. And that's what makes you powerful. Simplicity is a comforting lie, but you force them to see the world as it is, brutal, complex, and unrelenting. They wanted to believe they could categorize you, could break you down into something understandable. But every time they try, you show them another side, another layer. Your complexity is your armor, your weapon, your greatest strength. It leaves them confused, afraid, and ultimately powerless. Reality is stranger than fiction, and that is because fiction is bound by limitations. Fiction wears the chains of believability. Stories told to captivate an audience must follow rules, must fit into a framework that readers and watchers find plausible. Characters act a certain way, plots unfold within reason, and resolutions satisfy the craving for sense and order. But reality? Reality holds no such obligation. Reality twists and contorts into shapes that no fiction writer could ever dream up, playing by laws that don't exist. People betray logic, events defy explanation, and outcomes laugh in the face of predictability. Reality doesn't care if it makes sense. The mind struggles to accept this. People yearn for life to mimic the stories they read, for the hero to triumph and the villain to face justice. But life shatters those dreams, often in ways that leave hearts and minds broken. Villains win, heroes fall, and the lines blur, showing that no one ever fits perfectly into either category. The strangest events often become the most real, and the most unthinkable actions become part of history. People prefer fiction because fiction is safe, controlled, something that follows rules. The chaos of reality terrifies them. Imagine trying to tell your own story, the one with its twists, betrayals, and moments that make no sense even to yourself. People would call it unrealistic, absurd, a fever dream of contradictions. Yet here you stand, living proof that reality surpasses fiction's wildest plots. Your life is full of events that no writer would dare script, moments so bizarre that even those who know you struggle to understand. They look at you and realize that fiction never prepared them for someone like you, someone whose presence defies expectations and breaks every rule of storytelling. Most people crave simple stories because complexity terrifies them. They want fiction where justice is swift, where every action has a clear consequence. They want cause and effect, logic, structure. But life laughs at such desires. It leaves them reeling when the innocent suffer, when the guilty prosper, when the world's script flips without warning. Your existence is a reminder of this chaos. You are the embodiment of the impossible, the unpredictable. They cling to fiction because it makes sense, but your reality is the nightmare they can't wake up from. Living in a world where reality has no bounds is a game only a few know how to play. And you? You've mastered it. You've become the wild card, the plot twist no one expected. While others stick to their roles, bound by societal expectations, you are free. There is a villainous delight in understanding that no one can predict you, that no rule binds your reality. Fiction fears the unpredictable. You thrive in it. Fiction requires structure. You revel in the chaos that life brings. And that makes you dangerous. Their minds can't fathom you. They look at you and want your life to follow a script they understand. But your story breaks conventions, rewrites the narrative, makes them question everything they believe about how life should work. Your actions, your triumphs, your failures, all stranger than fiction. They search for ways to make sense of you, to pin you down with labels, to explain your existence in terms they find palatable. But each attempt fails, leaves them more bewildered, more afraid. Because you aren't a character in their story. You're the unwritten, the ungoverned. The hardest thing for them to grasp is that fiction was never meant to reflect the complexities of real life. Fiction plays by rules. Life does not. And while they cling to stories that soothe and comfort, you remind them that the world is far more savage, far more nonsensical than they ever dared to believe. You are the nightmare that shatters their happy ending, the paradox that keeps them awake at night. And there is nothing they fear more than a force that refuses to follow the script. What they hate most is that you live without their constraints. While they operate under laws of fiction and expectation, you are free to be the paradox, the contradiction, the ghost that haunts their beliefs. You've embraced that freedom, knowing that real power lies in unpredictability, in being something no one can prepare for. The universe doesn't play fair, and neither do you. People respect fiction because it gives them what they want. You respect reality because it shows people who they truly are, raw and unfiltered. Every attempt to simplify you fails. Their neat narratives crumble when faced with the raw, wild force you've become. They long for your story to end in a way they can predict, a way that fits into their concept of justice. But reality doesn't care about their wishes. Your story twists and turns, breaking rules, defying expectations. It drives them mad, leaves them questioning their understanding of the world. Tricks and treachery are the practice of fools who lack the brains to be honest. The world is full of schemers, desperate little souls who believe deception is the ultimate art form. They thrive on half-truths, manipulation, and hidden agendas, spinning webs that catch only the weak and the blind. But it takes a fool to rely solely on tricks, to think that deception is a strategy that cannot be unraveled. True power doesn't hide behind a veil of lies. It stands in the open, unafraid and unflinching. The foolish never understand this. They waste energy weaving illusions, only to be undone by the simplest act of fearless honesty. Their lies become their own prison, a web that binds the spider tighter than the fly. It's easy to spot these tricksters. They slither through life, trying to cover their tracks, never realizing that their every step leaves a trail of cowardice. Tricks are a temporary fix, a lazy substitute for genuine strength. When their plans fall apart, and they always do, they are left scrambling, exposed, caught in the collapse of their own creation. A person who needs deceit to win has already lost. Honesty, brutal and unyielding, cuts through lies like a blade through paper. And the honest one, the one who fears no consequence, stands invincible in the face of a world full of masks. Those who rely on treachery often fail to see their own weakness. They believe themselves clever, outsmarting others with sleight of hand. But it's all a facade, a desperate attempt to mimic power, to imitate intelligence. The truly wise don't need tricks. They don't hide in the shadows or plot from the safety of obscurity. Their strength lies in the knowledge that honesty, even when it's cruel, is a weapon more devastating than any lie. Facing the truth takes courage. Facing others with the unfiltered reality of your intentions takes a strength that no trickster will ever comprehend. But there's a difference between cruelty and honesty, and the line is as sharp as a razor. The fool wields lies to control, to bend reality to their favor. But the wise wield the raw, dark power of truth. The honest one doesn't hide their hand. They lay it bare, even when it costs them, because real power doesn't cower in disguise. Treachery is the tactic of those who fear confrontation, who fear being seen for what they really are. The wise one has no such fear. Exposure, vulnerability, these are mere stepping stones to greater strength, a strength that terrifies the deceiver. The world loves to romanticize tricksters, the charming rogues who dance around the rules. But in reality, these are the weakest of them all. Their strength is an illusion, their cunning a temporary game. They operate on borrowed time, for lies always have a way of decaying, of crumbling under the weight of their own contradictions. And when that happens, they are left bare, revealed for what they truly are. Desperate, pitiful creatures who never had the courage to stand in the light. Honesty, on the other hand, is eternal, unwavering, a force that shatters illusions with ruthless precision. Some think the only way to win in a world this harsh is to deceive, to manipulate, to strike from the shadows. But what these fools fail to grasp is that no trick has ever forged an empire. No lie has ever built something that lasts. Greatness demands more than deception. It requires the ability to stand firm in your convictions, unafraid of who hears or sees you. The honest path may be brutal, but it is never weak. Only the brave understand that facing reality head-on, embracing the truth, even when it cuts, is the only way to command real respect, real fear. They tried their tricks on you, tried to cage you in a web of lies, hoping you would stumble and fall. But you've never needed illusions, never needed deceit. Your strength is raw, terrifying, the kind that doesn't need to hide, and that's what they fear most. You are the honest force that exposes their charade, the living reminder that tricks and treachery are the tools of the weak. They're afraid to face the reality about you,